Welcome back. It's time now for Media Watch here on France 24. I'm joined by James Creedon in the studio. Hello and Happy New Year to you, James.
Likewise, Tom.
Now, it is France's highest accolade. It is, of course, the Légion d'honneur. And for the second time since François Hollande became president, someone has turned it down. Why?
That's right. Well, he doesn't want it. He thinks he's far too important as it is. Well, no, the real reason is he wants to keep his liberty of thought and of conscience. This is a comic book artist by the name of Jacques Tardy. He's one of the best-known comic book artists in France. He does a lot of stuff on, or has done a lot of stuff on World War I, World War II. France is big on its grown-up comic books, and so he has dealt with a lot of themes such as war, and often the governments don't come out looking too good. So for him, I'll show you some of the quotes on the computer that have been tweeted. He says, "I don't want your honorary medal. My honor is better off without it." So that was one comment. I'm not sure if we have the correct computer screen, actually. There it is. So I don't want your honorary medal. My honor is better off without it. And this was another quote in French. On n'est pas forcément content. We're not necessarily pleased to be recognized by people who we don't admire ourselves. So, this isn't actually just a slight as regards François Hollande. It is the French state in general that he's sort of saying, hey, I don't need your honors. I want to be to keep my freedom and my liberty of conscience. Because, in fact, you can see here these cartoons he drew at the moment when Nicolas Sarkozy was elected in 2007. That's the French Republic, RF, being flushed down the Swanee. And here you have Sarkozy in the guise of a devil. So Tardy said he doesn't want to feel indebted to any power. So there you go. It's put the spotlight on that. In the past, Sartre, Jean-Paul Sartre, Simone de Beauvoir, Camus, Léo Ferré, George Sand, they all said no merci to the Legion of Honor. And indeed, the spotlight has been put on journalists who have accepted the Legion of Honor because this has provoked a debate online. So this guy by the name of Edoui Plenel, who writes for Mediapart, he wrote this article earlier this year about journalists who interviewed Nicolas Sarkozy in the run-up to the election. 2 of 4 journalists had the Legion of Honor bestowed upon them, one by Nicolas Sarkozy. So perhaps for journalists it mightn't be the best idea in the world, according to Edoui Plenel.
Well, I'll remember that next time. Next time I'm shortlisted for one. We're going to move on to another topic now, which is Twitter and the issue of hate speech in Twitter.
That's right.
What's this all about?
All right. Well, the French women's rights minister, her name is Najat Vallaud-Belkacem. Now, last Friday, and I think it was over the weekend as well in Le Monde newspaper, she said Twitter is becoming an instrument of hate speech. There are laws in France and in all EU countries, in fact, against hate speech that links up sexism, racism, anti-Semitism, homophobia, etc. And laws exist already, so Twitter should comply with those laws or help out the state in terms of, I suppose, prosecuting people who come out with hate speech on Twitter. Of course, practically speaking, that's very difficult to do. You have thousands of tweets a second. How are you going to police every one of them? But that's what she said. It provoked a debate on The Guardian. The Guardian's website, interestingly. This guy, Jason Farago, he's an American journalist. He says in the US, freedom of speech it's sort of hammered into you from day one. There's an absolutist notion of the defense of freedom of speech. So when you see this happening in Europe, this debate happening in Europe, where people are saying, no, hate speech is illegal, you have to have limits on free speech, it's very unusual for an American to see that. Now, he says that whole notion is outdated and, freedom of speech needs to evolve. Digital speech requires fresh thinking, not mindless reapplication of centuries out-of-date principles. So for him, you have to clamp down on this. Now, others on the Guardian website, such as Glenn Greenwald, are saying this is extremely dangerous. Once you start down this road, where do you stop? So that debate getting a lot of attention there today on the Guardian's website and elsewhere.
And just briefly, on the New Year theme, rather a shocking story for one poor lady here in France. What happened?
Right. We don't have her name, but she's 73 years of age, up in Roubaix in the north of France. Now, she got stuck. She was doing her shopping, her New Year's Eve shopping. She was in the supermarket up in Roubaix. I think we have a photograph of said supermarket here, and went into the toilet and unfortunately had a bit of a malaise. And they shut up shop, and she was still in there when she came to. And so she was in there all night rang in the new year, amongst the foie gras and the champagne and everything, but didn't actually do anything about it, didn't eat anything, didn't sleep, and was very lucky the next morning when somebody came in to let her out, because it was actually, the store was meant to be shut for the whole of the 1st of January.
Yes, I'm surprised she didn't set the alarm off. Well, she deserves
Or
a
break
hamper
into some
for
champagne.
she deserves that for being very honest. I would have helped myself to all the chocolates. Thank you
Absolutely.
very much indeed, James
Thanks, Tom.
Creedon. That was Media Watch. Well, do stay tuned to France 24. We'll be back in just under 2 minutes from now.